Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series, The Nature of Predators. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 177. Memory transcript subject, Onzo, Yodel Technical Specialist. Date, Standardized Human Time, March 26, 2137. When the lab became accessible, I could see excesses of equipment. Shadowcast workers must have been cleared out, but the traces of their presence were still there. A dirty plate left out on a countertop, a chemical beaker which had been hastily put away, a crimson blood sample still on slates under microscopes. The Colchian chief waited as we passed the last prison cells, stepping into the deepest recesses of the facility. It was rare that visible fright displayed on Tyler's face, but I could tell that worrying about Slanek made him sick to his stomach. Solon and Samantha, meanwhile, were off in their own land, commenting on days long gone. "Remember when you and—" the Goger's voice hitched, and Carlos's name fizzled out in his throat. "The Takan ambassador was taken prisoner by the Colchians, and you snuck off to set him free. Was the prison similar?" Samantha shook her head. "Not at all. It was a tiny quasi-satellite of Alpha, and while it wasn't advertising its existence, it wasn't too hard to trace where they took him. I don't know why they didn't hide him anyway. Maronis, care to comment?" "That was an interrogation facility, a public one for predator-diseased individuals," Chief Maronis replied. "Iconis's plan wasn't to make Ambassador W.R.E vanish, but to blame him as an accomplice and show that we had caught the predator in a deceitful act. A little too late. We turned W.R.E into the public cast with the claim that he'd been overheard, telling Noah how to sabotage the engine. Their decision was to interrogate him before he would have been returned to a cell up above our heads, where our publicly known traitors like Russell were held." Ursul's tentacles tensed up, and her tail bunched up as well. "My brother was not a traitor. You dragged W.R.E.'s name through the mud, too, over being an accomplice. I believed your story, that the blood-lusting human sabotaged the shuttles. You murdered my brother, and now I find out he wasn't the only innocent person you wanted to smear." "There needed to be a reason why other species couldn't attempt diplomacy with Earth. Every diplomat's death, and selling the narrative that humanity turned an ambassador into an accomplice. Because Noah couldn't make it back to Skalka without dreaming about murdering an unsuspecting soul." "Shut the feck up," I hissed. "I didn't want to listen to your rationale before, and I sure as shit don't want to hear it now. Humans just wanted peace, and you didn't care who got hurt along the way, if it meant their kindness failed." Tyler smacked his fist against his other palm threateningly. "Let's not ask the sack of shit any more questions. I ain't able to keep my cool through more of his answers. I want to get to the neck, no stalling or nothing." "I opened the door. The female predator asked me a question," Maronis protested. Samantha shook her head. "You answered it, but with way more grandstanding than necessary. Let's try again with a different question. Where the fuck is Slanek?" The Colchian chief took several steps back before leading the way into the sprawling chamber. The right side seemed to be in examination rooms and surgical suites, which left me shuddering to think of the implications. Off on the left wing, where Maronis was hurrying towards, were living quarters, cramped rooms with elevated, oval-shaped doors that reminded me of the brig on our ship. The first prisoners we passed were Dosa, which merited a pit stop from some UN soldiers. These must be the civilians the Colchians snatched on the way from Alu, and apparently dropped off part of the way to Kalqua. I was alarmed to see that the rodents acted petrified upon sighting the humans. It didn't bode well for how Slanek had endured his re-education. Slanek was much closer and fonder of Terrans than random civilians, even ones selected for being troublemakers. I tried to reassure myself. He wouldn't crumble under pressure as easily, and I guess it's positive that the Dosa weren't ferried to Kalqua's battle to be killed with the Colchian ships. Multiple Dosa could be packed into cells, though we didn't stop to coax or sedate them amid our panic. Tyler was single-mindedly marching towards Slanek's alleged location, all but breathing down Moronis's neck as the chieftain stepped through a sealed partition. There were more holding areas, exactly like the ones we'd just passed, but less of these were occupied. My eyes widened with shock. Even my friend, who hadn't wanted to pause for any other interruptions, skidded to a halt. The pensive visage staring back at us were humans. The more energetic ones pounded against the glass. I knew that the Colchians got their tentacles on some Terrans who were left behind at the Dozer maintenance station. However, since those poor primates had been rescued back when Marcel got dosed with the cure, I hadn't been sure what Moronis meant by dabbling in human experiments. It would have been difficult to elope in a hurry with predators, given there were no evidence that they were moved to the Dozer homeworld. Less than a dozen total Earthlings were in his ward, which led me to conclude a single Commonwealth vessel slipped off with them in tow after our initial successes. The Shadow Cast must have been running the same cruel experiments here, adjacent to the ones in Malou's system. These humans had been languishing under Federation interrogation attempts, which must have entailed fundamental changes to their neurochemistry and behavior. The fact that they weren't repulsed to see the UN soldiers was a positive sign. It meant that they hadn't been persuaded that Earth's government was backwards and evil. I had never seen Terrans look this feeble, with 1,000-yard stares and shaking hands, a common trait amongst the victims. Was this the state the Colchians would have left the entire human race in, had their original uplift succeeded? It reminded me of how I felt under the predator disease drugs, a spectator in my own body, with stimulating thoughts locked far out of reach. I knew what it was like to have your personality suppressed under the haze of medication, with no end to the dreary days in sight. There was no greater part of any sapient that could be ripped away than their sanctity of mind. Seeing 20 years of my own misery reflected in binocular eyes, it evoked a painful level of empathy. I hoped the UN could free them from both their mental and physical cages.
"What the fuck is this?"
Samantha spat, stomping her boot heel into Moronis's tail. The Colchian's chief's eyes widened with alarm. "Don't hurt me. I definitely warned you about this. You're merely too aggressive, like the crocodile. We thought you could become more docile, prey-like, more than the Ark saw. Our ambitions went beyond curing you."
"Do you have any idea what it's like to be so medicated you can't feel anything?"
My hiss was low and ostensibly calm, though my tail lashed betrayed my emotions.
"For me, it was all because people derided my race and my loved ones until I couldn't take it, with words that aren't dissimilar to what Sovereign says now. I was deemed too aggressive for snapping. I deserved it for being a primitive just like their predators. What, pray, was your ambition with the yodel?"
"To direct your culture along proper avenues. We gave you so many gifts that you would never see in your lifetime without us." Sovereign flexed his claws, stepping between me and Moronis. "That's not the least bit true. I'm sorry, Onzo. I didn't want to hurt you. I like you. I do. And this jabs turns into a game for me. I was just frustrated with Tyler and my therapist for harping on about my language and my thoughts, and it's so damn hard to change everything. I can't do anything right, so I pushed back in defiance. I know you're smarter and better than me at everything, and I feel quite outshone by you."
"You think I don't know that you're jealous? It's fine. It's his fault, not yours," I growled.
"But that's also why I know your people didn't need Federation for shit. That fake Colchian culture was fine for me, without knowing everything they believed in being a lie. Then it broke me. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It was easier believing the lie, easier not knowing the Gojans would change too. Moronis, no gifts that you could have given the Yodel would be worth the mental anguish and the millions of deaths that came with it." "That's," Moronis began. "I'm not done. You admitted not long ago that your legacy was decline and decay, and your purposeless society is worth nothing. Your caste was an arrogant bunch of idiots living in fear, who wanted everyone else to be the same. All of us have suffered as a direct result of your actions. Onzo and I have that so thoroughly in common.
Sal and Sam lost their loved ones to you, and Tyler is only here because his friend was almost driven to suicide by your race and torturous Slanek. Do you understand that? Yes. But I just inherited. You did nothing to change it. You excused it and created your own fucking mishaps, and the smug aura has returned only after a moment's hint of remorse. So, unless you want to apologize, I suggest that you shut up and take us to Slanek before I shove my claws somewhere you don't want me to shove them. Chief Moronis withered beneath the Gojit's blistering scowl, and gestured to follow him in tail language. The humans might not have understood the exact words, but they could infer the meaning from Sovlin's reaction. While we proceeded to what was hopefully Slanek's Nokal, the other Terrans set about liberating the cured test subjects. I knew what it would be like for victims to cobble together the pieces of their mind. They were strong enough to find a way forward, but I didn't envy that journey. However, if the Vendel we were sent to rescue was no longer himself, I wasn't sure he could claw his way back. He'd been upset by his own personality before any of this, which led him to going off the deep end. The most insightful bit of information was about my Gojit comrade's state of mind. My ears angled towards Sovlin, weighing his unexpected, passionate defense of the Leotel. I had never believed he hated me, instead believing that he was long in tooth and set in his ways. But I hadn't considered a deeper struggle than that. The raw agony he felt every time he discussed losing his family told me he'd suffered as much as I had, albeit in a different way. His purpose for pressing on, seeking vengeance in their names, was a lie. How could he cope with his entire world being exposed as a falsehood? To that old man, the humans' revelations against the conspiracy must have felt the same as it did to us Jotl, when aliens tampered with our entire belief system. The Federation mindset was as ingrained and fundamental as any sapient's identity, from Sovlin's perspective. Knowing how much guilt he felt of Slanek's predicament, I made a mental note to protect the Gojit if the Vendel reacted poorly to his presence. Moronis had gloated that a skull-gone friend wouldn't be happy to see the humans. But I trusted the primates to subdue a herbivore who had been burdened by reignited instincts. However, something told me that, if any of Slanek's anger still existed, Sovlin wouldn't fight back due to his sense of guilt. I readied myself as we entered the secluded room, complete with a projector and neurochemical instruments. The dark grey fur and black tuft atop his forehead was unmistakable, but I was instantly worried the Vendel we knew was gone. If the Kolshians had tinkered with his brain to such an extensive length, the damage could be irreparable. There was an apathy to his sluggish movements that went beyond what we'd seen in the drugged humans, and his eyes looked like they struggled to take in the new visitors. However, once Slanek realized that binocular eyes were staring at him, he squealed. His limbs began shaking more profusely than they had before. Tears matted his cheeks, though his gaze still looked empty and disoriented. The Vendel struggled to duck behind his bed, and his legs twitched like he wished to be free. "Monster, help!" Slanek pleaded. I eased myself forward, signaling for Sovlin to stay where he was. "Hi, Slanek. It's me, Onzo. Do you remember me? I've never seen you before, but I know the humans brainwashed me, and I can't remember a lot of it. They fight the entire galaxy. I saw the war footage. Horrible things. Meat eaters. Made me kill people. They must have done the same to you. I don't want to go back. I'd rather die." "Everything you're telling me is wrong, Slanek. This isn't you. You can feel that. You're very close friends with the humans. Before the Kolshians scrambled your brain and made you forget how they crippled the Vendel. I know that you were angry when that happened." Tyler tiptoed after me, with biohazard mask covering his eyes. "Slanek, we came to rescue you. You can come home now. You were part of an exchange program. You were there for empathy tests. Kolshians wanted to wipe us out, but you fought to protect Earth. You lived there. How can you not remember any of that?" The Vendel didn't seem to be listening to a word Tyler said, shutting down at the sight of an approaching Terran. I flicked my ears at my exchange partner, warning him not to intervene. The blonde human seemed dejected by Slanek's condition, though I noticed him fiddling with his holopad. I took a cautious step towards the Vendel, resting a gentle paw on his shoulder. It was disheartening to find him in such a pitiful state. I wasn't sure the person Marcel and Tyler fought to save was salvageable.
The caution succeeded in making the poor guy believe humans were monsters, wiping his memories of their shared past together. He was worse off than his likely state during first contact. There was nothing left of the person we knew.
We need to sedate him and take him to a hospital. There's no way to convince him humans aren't taking him off to be cattle again, the caution broke to him.
What's the last thing
You remember?
I whispered. Selneck rocked back and forth.
Family. Brother died. Oxel. It's all fuzzy. Hurts to search. Not there. It's okay. You don't have to push yourself. I wish you did remember, but it's not your fault. We are all here to help you, no matter what. Last thing I remember, the humans landed to kill us all. Punkers. Cold. Then it was like I was unconscious, but not. Fragments and whispers to grasp at. Mostly a name. Someone who meant the world to me.
Marcel, Tyler interjected, startling the Vendel.
What did you do to Marcel?
Selneck bellowed, first sticking upright. It was the first moment he looked alert during the entire conversation.
How do you know that name?
You remember Marcel? Marcel is fine. He and I are very good friends. He's a great dude. You want to talk to him?
Samantha raised a finger. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Me either, Sovlin chimed in, keeping himself hidden behind Ursel and Sam. Marcel was beyond depressed when Selneck was captured. He tried of life kicking him down, and I can't predict how he reacts if Selneck rejects him.
No, please, Selneck wailed. I want to talk to Marcel. Miss Marcel.
Tyler offered an apologetic shrug. Sorry, guys, but I already called him, and he just picked up. Here. I retrieved the holopad from my exchange partner to see a befuddled Marcel staring at the screen. Selneck leapt at me with disjointed motions, ripping the device out of my hands with desperation. His brief excitement deflated as he laid eyes on the human scarred face, though he didn't react with either the repulsed fear that he had to Tyler and Sam. The Vendel's ears twitched with confusion, and conflicting emotions rushed through his horizontal pupils. Captain Fraser, meanwhile, had watering eyes, and his face contorted with relief. The Terran soldier seemed unaware of how little his friend remembered. Selneck! I'm so happy you're okay. I'm sorry. Sorrier than you can imagine for what happened to you. Whatever they've done to you, it's over. You're safe. You can come home, Marcel gushed. Genzi, come here, hurry. Oh, thank you so much. Tyler, you're a real hero. Selneck pinned his ears back. Your human should be terrible. Why do I feel like I love you? What? Marcel's sweepy smile faltered. His pupils darted back and forth, searching Selneck's expression. His eyes darkened with realizations. Oh, you don't remember me? It's because we loved each other. We were closer than blood brothers. We went through so much together, and there was nothing I wouldn't have done for you. If I could trade places and save you from the suffering, I would. I wish I was there, Selneck, to tell you when it's going to be okay, to protect you.
Why are you in my house? Did you capture my mother?
Genzi, who just peeked into the frame, swooned with delight.
Selneck, what nonsense are you on about? The last thing you told me before running off was to take care of Marcel. If I still loved you, and that he'd be a better son. I did what you asked. But you are my son. I was never looking for an upgrade. You have no idea how much it hurt to lose another son.
Marcel squeezed Genzi's wrist. We're going to remind him who he is. It's okay. It'll be you, me, and Julia. Oh, that's right. She'll be delighted to see Uncle Selneck. She's, showed up on our doorstep. Lucy doesn't want the responsibility anymore. That's okay, because we can have our own family. It's not too late to make a new life.
I want my old life. You're a predator. From a race of killers. I don't know you,
Selneck mewed. But I know you. The fact that you remember me at all means they couldn't take what we had away from you. Here, look, I've kept these. I looked at them every day to think about you. Marcel held up a printed photograph with frantic enthusiasm. It showed a grief-stricken Selneck sitting beside the human's broken body in a hospital bed. You were there when I was almost killed. You saved my life and nursed me back to health. Can't you see how much you cared? You didn't leave me, even when you could have had someone without baggage or scars. Like, I won't give up on you now.
You look so there. I look sad. That looks real.
It is real. You were part of an exchange program between our species. I can show you all of our chats. Hell, I'd be happy to have them again. Marcel flipped through a series of pictures in quick succession, rushing to find evidence for Slaaneck. This is you being the first Vendel to visit Earth, standing with our leader. Oh, this is you with a can of potato chips. You can discover them all over again, salt monster. Here's us at the camp on the cradle.
The cradle?
It's a long story. We fought the Orcs all time and again. Together, we were unstoppable. I tell you everything we went through, the good and the bad, and what really happened with proof, not what the call sheet said. I wish I could do so much over, but as long as you remember the slightest bit of what we were, we can get through this. Do you believe me?
My brain doesn't, but my heart does. I believe you. Only you.
I'm so proud of you, Slaaneck. Our memories might be gone for you, but nobody can take what we had. Those nice people are my friends, your friends, and they flew across the galaxy to bring you home. I need you to go with them, and I'll be here waiting. You need anything, you call. I'll be as patient and supporting as you need.
Okay, but that's scary. I think I'll go with the yodel.
Yes, go with the yodel. No time like the present. 1 foot in front of the other, and you'll be home in no time.
Talk more. Not ready. Want to know everything.
We can talk for as long as you want once you're safe on their ship. That's all that matters. Please, be brave for Genzi and I. I'll be in touch very soon. Slaaneck's shoulders sagged as Marcel disconnected from the call. I gently pried the holopad out of his paws and returned it to Tyler. The blonde primate gave me the slightest nod of gratitude for seeing our mission fulfilled. It was more than I expected to see any trace of Vendel's old self still kicking. After sticking with my buddy through the ferocious fight, we could finally leave this rock and return to a normal life. The galaxy could have a fresh start, just like Slaaneck, with humanity at the reins. All of us would be returning home to a new era led by the United Nations. I wrapped my paw around Slaaneck's shoulders and coaxed him towards the exit before he had any second thoughts. Sovlin sported an expression of visible relief after how responsive the Vendel had been to Marcel. The Goge had caught me observing him and gave me a grudgingly claw flick of respect. I returned the gesture with my ears, musing what kind of future the old man would have. It was then that I noticed him guiding Orcel with a fatherly affection. He was clearly intended to bring Rosel's sister back to Earth, where Viceth and Hunter waited. The former captain might have figured out what to do with himself more than he thought. With the last part of our mission complete, it was time for us to seek out new lives in a well-earned peacetime. End of chapter. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Lightjock, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Lord Asrical. Thank you very much.